So, biohacking. How do we biohack our metabolism? We hear that word a lot these days, biohacking. Everybody's biohacking something. But what does that really mean? And we hear the word metabolism a lot, right? What does metabolism really mean? What does metabolic health really mean? You've all heard me speak over and over again, and other people are speaking about it too, that 92% of the population is metabolically unwell. Metabolically unwell, 92% of the population, which means that the way that they handle food, the way that their metabolism, the movement of cells and of processes through biochemical processes is altered. Maybe it's a thyroid issue, maybe it's a blood sugar issue. So, what we want to be able to do is look at our bodies on a real time basis. What are some of the biomarkers we can look at on a regular basis that will help us to determine how to improve metabolism? So I'm Dr. Rita Marie Loscalzo. Welcome back to the channel. We're passionate here about helping health and wellness practitioners to be the best health and wellness practitioners they possibly can by really understanding the mechanisms that go on in the body. And we provide videos and resources for people who are looking to get their health back, balance their hormones, and get their energy on track. So can we really biohack? What does that mean? Well, I like monitoring. I like monitoring to see how the body's doing. And there's limits to what we can do, right? We can go into a lab and we can get blood drawn and we can get a series of 50, 60, 100 different biomarkers. But we can't do that on a daily basis, right? And it requires intervention. But there are other things that we can do on a regular basis. So I want to talk about some of my favorite ways to check markers that I like to check on a regular basis. And then what do I do with that information? So, for example, blood sugar. Blood sugar is so important to measure because blood sugar controls everything. We have up and down blood sugar. If we have unstable blood sugar, if we have high blood sugar or too low blood sugar, it can affect all the hormones. It can affect energy. It can affect detox, and it can affect everything. So, one of the ways that we do it is we can do a little finger prick and we can stick a little strip into a meter and determine what our blood sugar is. We can also do that for ketones. This is from the Keto Mojo, and this is ketone tester. And this happens to be a device that can do both ketones and blood sugar. So I like to do both, and I like to recommend that people do both because if you can monitor the effects on your blood sugar and your ketones from day to day habits, from what you're eating, how much you're exercising, your stress levels, how well you slept, all of that stuff makes a difference. And you can help monitor and control, which is the biohacking part. So the monitoring part is the measurement devices. The hacking part is the things you do to control that. So maybe you find that you're stressed a lot throughout the day and your blood sugar responds by peaking up, even though the foods you might be eating may not be high glycemic. Well, in that particular case, you might look for some other biohacking devices to calm down your cortisol levels. Meditation is great, not a device, not really what I would call biohacking, although if you do it in response to measuring not your cortisol levels, because we don't have devices that can do that at home yet, but you can measure your sympathetic or heart rate variability. And there's ways to do that. The Institute of Heart Math has a really cool device you can hook up to your ear and then you hook it up into your phone, or they also have a way to do it on your computer. And you can determine, are you in parasympathetic or are you in sympathetic state? Are you running away from a tiger or are you in rest and digest state? And the biohacking part is there are processes. One of them I love is called quick coherence from Heart Math that you can do by paying attention to your breathing, pay attention to your heart, and relaxing into a state to get you into parasympathetic, and then use the device to determine if you were successful, to determine if you actually went into a parasympathetic mode. Parasympathetic and sympathetic, as you recall, part of the autonomic nervous system. We don't really control them, but we can influence them. So when you get stressed out, your heart rate's going to go up, your heart rate variability is going to get wacky, your cortisol levels are going to go up, your blood pressure is going to go up, and your heart rate may go up. So all of those things happen as a result of stress. But what if we could easily measure that and then switch ourselves back? That's where the biohacking comes in. And it can make a huge difference because high levels of cortisol can impact every system in the body. It can constrict blood vessels, it can raise your blood sugar, and it can change your heart rate, and it can change your digestive enzymes. So many things. So that's a biohacking. Simply having this little device that sticks into a phone or a computer and measures where you're at, heart rate variability, and then you use that to bring yourself into a calmer state. It's amazing. When before HeartMath had the one that enters into the little port. Where's my phone? Into the little lightning port of the phone, or if it's an Android, into whatever the other kind of thing is. Before that, they just had either you did it on the computer or you had a little device, and I forget what they called it, but I had one. It was about this big. And I remember sitting on an airplane with my son, and he was maybe 6 or 7 years old. He was young. And he saw me playing with this and he's like, "What is that, mommy?" So I explained it to him. He goes, "Oh, let me try it." So he takes it and he sits there and he's all, so I use that as an opportunity to read and, pay attention to my own needs. And all of a sudden he goes, "Mom, I figured it out." Okay, what was there to figure out? He goes, "Watch this." And he like crunches up his face and he gets all upset and angry. And all the lines go to red. He goes, "But now watch this." And he's just calm and he breathes and it all went to green. So he hacked the thing and he used it to be able to tell where his body was. He didn't really know what he was doing, but he did because he was able to use this device and he knew something was happening to the device when he got upset or mad or scrunched up his face. So that's a biohacking. The other thing you can do if you find that you're stressed a lot and your blood sugar is high is meditation can be great. And if you're like me, I had a hard time getting into meditation. I had a really, really hard time being able to sit still for half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, even some meditation teachers were teaching. And I just had a hard time doing it. So I discovered this device, many years ago, probably about 5 years ago, called the Muse. And I have an app on my phone, and if I click the app on my phone and hook up my headband to my head, it's a Muse headband, it reads your brain waves, right? And based on that, you can control your breathing and control your affect and help yourself get into parasympathetic instead of sympathetic as a result of getting that feedback from the device. So it's a real-time biosensor that's telling you what your brain waves are doing. And then as a result, you're hacking your metabolism, right, by changing your state. And all of these things have an effect on the metabolism. The metabolic rate is intimately connected with your level of stress and with your level of glucose, obviously, right? So all of this started with just measuring your glucose. There's other ways to measure your glucose, which are more real time. And I have that device on here too. So there's a sensor. This is a CGM, continuous glucose monitor. This particular one is a Dexcom. There's also some that people use from Abbott, Freestyle Libre. And you put it on, and it basically is measuring your glucose continuously. And then it's hooked up to an app on the phone, and it will give you a readout, and it will show you a graph of how your glucose is doing. Based on that, the way I would biohack it, the way I would shift things in me would be based on if it goes up, then I look what happened right before it started to go up. Was it a meal I ate? Did that meal have too many carbohydrates for my particular body? Was it a stressful situation? Did I get upset or angry or watch a stressful movie or have some bad news or read a book that got me emotional? What is it that I did that may have caused my blood sugar to go up or to go down? I find that with exercise, does exercise raise your glucose or lower your glucose? Well, it depends. Oftentimes we're told if your blood glucose is high, go for a walk around the block to burn up that sugar, which is a great thing to do. And that will use, if the glucose is high, that will be utilized. That walking around the block will utilize the glucose in your blood to fuel that exercise, and your blood glucose most likely will go down. But let's just say your blood glucose is low because you just did an overnight, 16-hour fast. And your blood sugar is low, and then you don't just go for a walk around the block. You go for a run, or you go for a bike ride, or you go for and do some weightlifting or something strenuous, because that requires more glucose than is in the blood. The body goes and tries to find new glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, which means it breaks down glycogen stores in the liver or in the muscles, or it breaks down fat, not fat so much, but protein, either floating around in the bloodstream as amino acids or as enzymes or as muscle tissue, right? So then we get into that mode that too much exercise can actually break down muscle. It just depends on your glucose levels. So that's a great way to handle it. If you have a bad night's sleep and you're watching your meter the next day, it's going to have higher levels most of the time, because bad sleep puts you in a state of insulin resistance. So those are some of my favorite ways. There's also a Fitbit. You can wear a Fitbit as a watch, and there's other brands like that. There's a Garmin watch, and then there's, I forget the name of one that I have, but it's a watch that you wear, and it's got sensors to read your pulse and heart rate, and you can tell, sleep. Yeah, you can also tell with sleep. So let me get back to that in a moment. So you can tell how well you're sleeping. You can see real time how much sleep is impacting. Are you getting a lot of deep sleep, REM sleep? Are you getting a lot of light sleep? How much interruption to your sleep happened overnight? So it's really good to be able to do. I personally don't like having a band around my wrist. I've tried it and I don't like it. I like it for exercise because it can give me some real-time stats, but I don't necessarily like to sleep with it. So for sleep, I use an Oura ring. So I wear an Oura ring. A lot of people are wearing them these days. And the Oura ring has got sensors on the inside, as you can see. Hard to tell. Yeah, you see the little sensors in there? And the sensors are reading your pulse, it's reading your heart rate, reading your temperature, and it can tell the waves where you're in. How it does it, I don't really know the science behind the technology, but it seems to reflect. It knows when I fell asleep, it knows when I woke up. Sometimes it's a little off on wakings in the middle of the night. I might think I woke up, I look around, and then I go back to sleep. But that could be just I didn't really fully awaken. I was still in light sleep, and it marked me as light sleep. So I personally, what happens with this Oura ring is it helps me to be honest. I like accountability. And if I know somebody's watching you, Big Brother is watching you, I know that people are watching me, or my devices are watching me, I know that I'm going to be better because it's going to record it. I can't say, nope, I've been sleeping really well. And a few nights a week, I get 4 hours of sleep. It keeps track of it. It gives you stats over time. So these are really good devices. Do you need these devices? No. Do you maybe want those devices to help keep you on track? Yeah, it can be really, really, really helpful to be doing that. So I'm a big fan of these. These are the ones I use. I know other people who do various ones to measure resistance in muscles and other things, but those are the ones I'm familiar with that I use. There's another one, you blow into it. I can't remember the name of it, but you blow into it and it will measure how much you're in fat burning or glucose burning. I've not really used it all that much, because when I use it, I'll find that, hey, I'm in ketosis according to my keto strips, but it's telling me that I'm in sugar burning mode, and I haven't made sense of it. So I haven't spent a lot of time researching it. There are other devices you can use for ketones. There's a breath meter for ketones. There's urine strips for ketones. And all of these things are just helping you to get a glimpse at any point in time of the biomarkers that make sense. Similar to you step on a scale, it gives you a sense of how much you weigh, right? And how your weight loss activities are going. These are looking at other functions. I dream of the day when we can poke our fingers and get a whole bunch of different, not just glucose and not just ketones, but a whole lot. Right now, the technology is such that we need to do some spinning on some of these to get some of these measures. So they're not readily available that way. I think there used to be some cholesterol strips that you can measure your cholesterol. And used to be on the Keto Mojo that it would also measure your hemoglobin and hematocrit. but they stopped that for some reason. I think maybe they found that it wasn't all that accurate. But the more we can measure what's going on in our bodies, and the more we can look at how our daily choices, how our activities affect these markers, the better in control we are and the more empowered we are to make the most of our health. So I encourage you to consider even something as simple as a $15 unit. This one's about 50, the Keto Mojo, but the ones that don't do ketones are only $15. Start with some of those things. Look at how your body is responding real time to your sleep, your stress, your exercise, your sleep, your food, and your thought process. And hope that helps. And let me know, comment, let's start a conversation. What biohacking devices do you use and do you like? And what are some of the results that you've gotten with them? Until next time, make choices that are consistent with your best health. I'm Dr. Rita Marie, and you can watch this video or that video to see other in our health series. Thank you.